Good morning, folks. My name is Curtis Chandler, President of PFL. We hope that everyone had a great weekend. Hard to believe we're approaching Q3 2021. Where does the time go? We also hope that you're enjoying our early morning briefing. We do it all for you. We are live 7 a.m. Eastern on Monday. If you are viewing this podcast through our reports and are up at 7 a.m. Eastern on Mondays, please turn in next week live instead. Please like us on LinkedIn and pass on the good word. We would certainly appreciate it, and you could win a PFL Railcar. At the end of every quarter, which happens to be in 3 days from now, we have a draw for those that do. On Friday, we'll be giving away a PFL Railcar to the winner's choosing. It can either be a black or white tank car, hopper, or coal car. Our quote this week is from an unknown author, so I will take credit for it. Just kidding. But here it goes. Don't do something permanently stupid because you are temporarily upset. Folks, it goes without saying, we really like this one. Requires no explanation. How many times have we let our temporary feelings get ahead of what in the long run is not in our best interest? It's all about reflection and self-control. What helps me out is writing an email about how I really feel about something or that person or that company, save the draft, come back to it later, and then delete it. You may want to try this one. It really works, folks. Or if it's a live situation, try and walk away from it if you can. U.S. initial jobless claims came in at 411,000 last week from an upperly advised 418,000 the previous week. It was the second straight week that initial jobless claims are over 400,000 people. Continuing claims, which are reported a week in arrears from initial claims, reach a new post-demic low of 3.39 million. This is a noticeable decline from the upward revised 3.53 million the previous week. Unlike new claims, continuing jobless claims have come down more profoundly over the past 12 weeks or so. Stocks set fresh highs on the hopes that the bipartisan infrastructure bill would spur economic activity. The Dow closed up 237.02 points last Friday and up 1,143.76 points week over week. The S&P closed higher 14.21 points and up 114.25 points week over week. The Nasdaq closed lower on Friday of last week, down 9.32 points, but up 330.01 points week over week. In overnight trading, Dow futures traded lower and expected to open down this morning 16 points. Another strong week for crude oil, folks. Oil prices climbed to their highest levels since October 2018 on Friday of last week, up for a fifth week in a row on expectations demand growth will outstrip supply, and OPEC Plus will be cautious in August. However, where oil goes from here is anyone's guess. On Wednesday of last week, the United States agreed to lift sanctions on the Iranian oil and shipping industry and remove several senior officials from the blacklist. Approximately 1,040 Trump-era actions will be lifted under the agreement. It was also agreed to lift some sanctions on individuals and members of the Supreme Leader's Inner Circle. Despite sanctions being lifted, the finalization of a nuclear deal between Tehran and Washington has not been reached. If you ask me, throwing a branch to the Iranians has never worked. Remember the piles of cash? Oh my goodness. Well, let's hope for the best outcome we can at this point. WTI crude oil rose on Friday of last week, up 75 cents a barrel to settle at $74.05 a barrel, up $2.41 a barrel week over week. U.S. commercial crude inventories decreased by 7.6 million barrels week over week. U.S. crude inventories are 6% below their 5-year average for this time of year. Total motor gasoline inventories decreased by 2.9 million barrels week over week and are 1% below the 5-year average for this time of year. Distillate fuel inventories increased by 1.8 million barrels week over week and are 4% below the 5-year average for this time of year. Propane-propylene inventories increased by 1 million barrels week over week and are 15% below the 5-year average for this time of year. Propane prices at Mont Belvieu soared above $1 per gallon on Wednesday of last week, the first time that's happened in the month of June since 2014. U.S. propane inventories have been very skinny lately, sitting at around 56.2 million barrels. At the same time, propane exports have been riding high, averaging 1.3 million barrels per day so far this year, up nearly 900,000 barrels a day during the same time frame in 2020. And production at the same time has remained virtually flat over the last 18 months. Either production needs to increase here in the U.S. or prices need to rise higher to discourage exports in order for us meeting our demand here in North America for the winter. Canada also seeing record export prices, and prices have spiked in Edmonton to over 80 cents a gallon last week. U.S. crude oil imports averaged 6.9 million barrels per day week over week, up by 197,000 barrels per day week over the past 4 weeks. Crude oil averaged 6.5 million barrels per day, 1% less than the same 4-week period last year. U.S. crude oil refinery inputs averaged 16.1 million barrels per day during the week ended June 18th, which was 224,000 barrels per day less than the previous week's average. Refineries operated at 92.2% of their operable capacity last week. Oil is lower in overnight trading, and WTI is poised to open at $73.99, down 6 cents a barrel. Total North American rail volumes were up 10.6% year over year in week 24, resulting in quarter-to-date volumes that are up 21.5% year over year, and year-to-date volumes that are up 12.1% year over year. 7 of 11 of AR's major traffic categories posted year over year increases, with the largest coming from intermodal, up 10%. Coal was up 31.2%. Metallic ores were up 32.8%, and last but not least, chemicals were up 11.2%. North American rig count is up by 9 rigs week over week. The U.S. rig count was flat week over week, but up 205 rigs year over year. The U.S. currently has 470 active rigs. Canada's rig count was up by 9 rigs week over week and up by 113 rigs year over year, and Canada's overall rig count is 126 active rigs. Year over year, we are up 318 rigs collectively. A few things that we're keeping our eye on, folks. Alberta to Alaska Railway, A2A, hit a setback. The A2A Railway and Alberta Corporation has obtained creditor protection under a Canadian insolvency statute so that the company can pursue a sale or refinancing. It's at the development stage. The 2000 rail link between the North American Grid, Alaska Railroad, and Tidewater Ports. See PFL's rail report for further details. RINs, we are still watching them, folks, and they have continued to be very volatile and have been driven to historic highs. The U.S. Supreme Court overturned a 2020 lower court ruling on the EPA's ability to grant renewable standards exemptions to small refineries, referred to as SREs, on Friday of last week. See PFL's rail report for further details on closing pipelines. Our prices. Magellan Pipelines is looking to transfer biodiesel blended in regular diesel and is working on a solution that can come in 1 to 2 years or less. Kind of bearish for the tank car, but good for those selling biodiesel and wanting it blended. A must today is to read PFL's Rail Report. Not only do we go into a lot more items than we discussed today, but there's coal in there, the outlook on coal, natural gas, as well as PFL assessment on rail activity as it relates to petroleum. Well, that's all for this week's podcast, folks. We hope you enjoyed it. Call PFL for any troubleshooting you may want to do. Our number is 239-390-2885. And please visit our website, pflpetroleum.com. You'll get to see all our reports. And we've been very busy in the sublease market. That's been picking up a lot of steam. Of course, storage, return on lease locations, railcar repair, cleaning. We can get the job in the field done fairly quickly, get your cars moving again. Anything to do with the railcar, please give us a call. We're here to help. Thanks, and hope you have a